So they burn the scrolls, and it literally is just, let's be angry with the orcs because they burn books. They're Nazis now.
Terrible. They're probably voting for Trump.
We're calling this all the elf stuff. Everything that matters with Sauron and Adar and Galadriel and Celebrimbor and Gil-galad and Elrond, right? So we're talking about all this here. So at this point, the orcs are now overrunning Ost-in-Ethel, which they've given up on that name, by the way, completely. The city that the great smiths of Numenor of the elves are in. They just started calling it Region because Ost-in-Ethel was too difficult.
Yeah, too many syllables for these people.
Galadriel is there. She knew the way into the city when nobody else did because of the hidden dwarven tunnels. So she goes in, kills some orcs, and then she saves, what, about 7 people through the dwarf tunnels again, as I read it?
Yeah, she's leading them through the city, back out the secret tunnel. And here's what I love. You see the scenes where, like, orc archers are taking out elves in one shot. Like, these are the orcs, and it's showing in this badass killers. They're coming in, and they're murdering all the elves, and everyone's dying. And then Galadriel shows up, and they go from badass killers to 1970s martial arts stooges. So they just run at her, and then she kills them. And they run at her, and then she kills them. And one and the other. And then, like, one of them grabs one of the refugees she's trying to save, and he ignores her behind him, and he's just, like, leering at the refugee, and so she kills him. And it's just, it's so, they can't write action scenes. They can't write war scenes.
So the reason she escapes, the whole reason she has to escape at this point, is because she now has the 9 rings.
So she's carrying the 9 rings.
Gave her the 9 rings.
Celebrimbor gave the 9 rings to keep them secret, keep them safe.
And I will go willingly.
And as she escapes, she's captured by orcs and Adar, and she's taken to him.
But this capture scene also is one of those problematic scenes, right? So
just one of those?
Yeah, one of the 1,000. She comes out with her 9 refugees that she is saving, and they're surrounded by orcs. And she says to the surrounding orcs, who are all around them with weapons pointed at them.
Which means the orcs would have known about this dwarven tunnel, then they wouldn't have.
Which, whatever. But this is an example of how you have a writer's room which has no ability to actually even think itself through the scene. They're clearly writing lines, but they're not even imagining how this would work. So they're surrounded by orcs, and the orcs have just been shown to be slaughtering everyone mercilessly. Yeah. She comes out of the tunnel, so she's an elf warrior with 9 refugees, and they're surrounded, and she says, wait, I'll give up, and you can have even the rings of power if you let these people go. Why don't the orcs just kill the people and then take the rings from her? Or why don't they say, okay, and then she gives up and they bind her and then they kill everyone? Like, what? Where's the connective tissue here?
Shut up.
I can't do it. I can't.
Well, these are the orcs that want to go home to their families now, right?
These are the orcs. Some of them, yes. Is Glug there? I don't know. And the ones around Adar theoretically are, but it doesnn't matter. They tell us that, but they show us the orcs
mercilessly slaughtering all
randomly hunting
everyone down,
like even
women, children,
horses. They
kill. I mean, maybe it's justified.
So the orcs would have just killed her and them there, but they're like, oh well, okay, because you said it that way, I'm going to take you to Adar. So they do.
Speaking of Adar,
oh man,
I mean, speaking of taking people, like Celebrimbor here, okay, here, let me give a compliment. This was probably the best scene in season 2 of The Rings of Power.
Okay.
Wow, just because at least it was brutal, and at least it felt like Halbrand Sauron is truly angry, and he will do what he needs in order to see his way through. Like, he's not shown. Well, I take that back. He actually cries in this scene too.
Right, Sauron cries. Everyone.
Okay, so this scene sucks too.
It started out all right. So Sauron's torturing Celebrimbor to try to get him to tell.
He's using him as target practice. This is directly from, I believe it's Unfinished Tales, where he says Celebrimbor was pierced with orc arrows and.
Elf arrows, you mean?
Well,
those are elf arrows. Anyway,
it does say orc arrows. I looked it up because I wanted to see how close this was to it. Orc arrows, and impaled on a spear and hung like a banner. Now, he's not really hung like a banner at this point. Maybe that'll happen in season 3.
But they do.
But there's no season 3. No season 3. No season 3.
There's going to be a season 3. Amazon has too much money.
So they have this scene. I don't even write down because I don't really care what they're talking about. But to me, the thing again, they have prophecies that they throw into this the show. So they had even Farazan had a prophecy about his son Kemen, who you met here a minute ago, that your mother said you would die in ill-gotten ways or something along those lines. Here we have Celebrimbor after them having a back and forth. He's like, look at what you've done to yourself. So the entire time Halbrand is gaslighting Celebrimbor, like all the pain Celebrimbor's gone through, he's trying to sell him, look, if you would have just done what I said, you wouldn't be going through all these problems.
So really it's you doing it to yourself. You doing this. Yeah. So
go ahead.
I'm just going to say, I mean, that's a tactic. Like, that's used by people that torture other people sometimes. They gaslight them. So I don't have a problem. It was so stupid and silly the way he did it. He's no master manipulator. So they can't write good script on it. But now he's moved from gaslighting to torture, and so he's torturing him. And Celebrimbor makes him cry.
Celebrimbor says to him, "The rings of power shall destroy you, and in the end, I foresee one alone shall prove your utter ruin." So somehow Celebrimbor now has visions of the future and can speak prophecy onto what's going to happen to him. And he calls him, he's like, "You truly are Sauron, Lord of the Rings."
No.
It's like an SNL skit from back in the days when SNL was good, where everything is so hackneyed and overdone, and it's sort of like what would have made it better if he's like, "And you are Sauron, Lord of the Rings." Like, I wink to the fans, break the fourth wall a little bit.
And my favorite part of this is how Celebrimbor tells Sauron, no, you think you're the master, but you've actually become a prisoner of the rings.
Oh.
And now so now the rings are the bad guys in this story? Like, Sauron himself is a victim, and Sauron has this expression on his face. He's looking away from me. It's like a toned down version of, "No, that's not true. That's impossible." And he's like, and then he starts crying. Like, Sauron. So Celebrimbor's like, every single person is an unhinged 14-year-old in this show. There's like he's crying. You made Sauron cry, and then Sauron gets mad and then impales him with a spear. So yeah, there you
go. You're like, I don't even know where to start.
Probably better
first of all, did they get a different actor for Halbro?
Same guy.
No, same guy.
The same guy.
Here's what we'll say: these actors aren't bad. They were just giving, maybe Galadriel. They were given horrible content. Like, what they were given it makes no sense and puts their characters in situations where you just don't believe them. So act as they might, and that Halbrand guy is fine. He would have made a good Anatar for sure. I told you,
Charlie Vickers.
But what they were given makes these characters, to anybody who thinks critically about it, because there are plenty of people who will just accept at this point. They haven't seen good storylines in order to, or understand what a good storyline is in order to actually look at this through untinted windows. But he's fine. The acting is fine. It's the content is so bad that we don't believe their characters, so the acting also seems bad. Although Gil-galad, there's some. Charlie Vickers did a good job.
Yeah, Charlie Vickers does a decent. But I'm going to hold out for the fact that everyone's crying because they're in the show. Like, at certain moments, it's just overwhelming. I can't believe it. I'm doing this in my career, and they start crying. So this is the part, and he starts crying, and then he impales Celebrimbor.
It's unbelievable that the only emotion that they have when they deal with struggle is crying. Every single character cries. Galadriel, Elrond, Durin, Nari, Poppy, even Gandalf has wet eyes at some point.
Gandalf is. Almost everybody. We should make a list, actually. But let me just say this: none of the Rings of Power writers will listen to this, no doubt. But should anyone ever forward this onto them, let me explain something. There are more emotions in the world that human beings use when they react to traumatic events than just weeping. Okay? Stop the weeping. Not everyone has the emotional maturity of a 14-year-old. Let's start putting in real character. Actually, don't. Just abandon the project. That's my real message.
So there you go. There he's impaled, pushed up. Great. He's killed.
There you go.
There's the crying, guys. There we go. He's sad. and disappointed. Like he was forced to kill. Look at those teary-faced eyes, teary-eyed face. And then here you go. This is now Glug.
This is the Glug. Glug is the orc that really wants to retire to a cottage, a
He's the one that
seaside
has the
cottage.
wife and the kid.
Yeah, he's the sensitive
It's
orc.
like, hey,
And,
hey, boss, it's 5 o'clock. I'm gonna kick off right now. Yeah.
He's the one in the last episode that said to Adar, "But you told us you loved us."
He literally said that. That was his.
So now he
that was
doesn't
his-
believe Adar loves them because he sent them to fight in Region. So now he comes to Sauron.
Which is what he was there to do, by the way. He came along because
The whole idea was that.
And then they got to the point, and they're like, "Now go fight." It's like you said you loved us.
So he
Why do you
comes,
think you're here?
So backing up for me because I need to get filled in.
Do you? Though?
So at the end of season 1, Adar, and you find out Adar is not Sauron,
right?
and you find out that actually he killed Sauron
Beginning of season 2, yeah.
at the beginning of season 2.
Yep.
Okay, so I did see some of that.
Yep.
So why is he sending orcs to help Sauron in Region?
Because orcs will never have peace until Sauron is dead. That's his whole reason.
Wait. So why is he helping him?
Because he believes.
No, this
Dan, don't think so hard. You can't make
Okay,
up logical,
all right.
consistency.
You're absolutely right. I'm laughing because these are the things we've been going through. So the whole torturous. What happens at the beginning of this season is Sauron, in his new form of Halbro, comes to Mordor because we saw him. Remember at the end of season 1,
Right.
he crests the rise, and he's going into
Right.
Mordor, looking down at Mordor. So he goes there and he appears in front of Adar, and he pretends that Sauron pretends that he knows where Sauron is
Okay.
in Region.
Okay.
And Adar tortures him, and he still says, I'll help you out. And so Adar sends him off to find Sauron, and then come report back where Sauron is.
And then Sauron.
By the way, there's no internal motivation that would work at all there. Like, you've been torturing me, so I'm sending you away. Please come back and tell me when you found Sauron.
all the poor people listening to us are like, guys, we know you talked about this. What poor Dan? Like, what?
Yeah, well, we got to explain.
So ultimately, he figures out on his own that this guy
Adar figures out that
is
Halbro is Sauron, but we're never shown why he figures it out. We're told he figured it out, but there's literally not a single scene in which he's even thinking about it.
He just
We're
woke
showing
up.
it.
He just woke up one day
He
and said,
captures
"Wait a minute."
Galadriel, and he says, "I know."
I know Halbrand or
What was he called? Does he even call him Anatar at that point?
maybe I don't remember.
How does he even know Anatar's
He
name?
doesn't know any of that. I mean, he should.
But he tells Galadriel, "Oh, I know he's Sauron," and the rest of us are like, "How? How did you know he's Sauron?"
The writers.
You sent him off because if you thought he was Sauron, you had him in your power. You would have just killed him again, I guess.
Yeah.
But so apparently he figures it out, and so he comes after Sauron, who he somehow knows is in Austin and Thiel.
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
He knows.
And then so he brings an army of orcs slowly and painfully through Region, and then they lay siege to Austin and Thiel.
And this is the point at which that one orc,
And so here we are.
who, by the way, they don't want to be called orcs, they want to be called uruks. When you say uruk, it means I respect you. That's essentially what they've established through this whole season. So he says, "Are you the one they call Sauron?" And he's like, "I have many names.
Uruk.
What is yours? Uruk." And he's like, "Oh, he likes him. He respects him because he called him
This
Uruk."
man shows me respect.
Orc. Yeah.
This elf.
So we know essentially this guy is going to become a traitor. So let's move forward then into the point at which Galadriel is now taken before Adar. And Adar, at this point, he has the ring. He has Galadriel's ring because he took it from Elrond. Elrond had Galadriel's ring. Don't start asking how he got him. Don't.
Okay. All right.
So,
Not going to go there.
so he's kneeling in front of this. He has the ring. Now, it's been shown that she used the ring to heal a stab wound that one of her elves got at one point. So she held the ring and prayed over him.
And the wound was healed.
And the wound was healed.
Okay. Ta-da!
So they've established that here. So he now has the ring. And she looks at him, and look, the ring has changed him from orcishness to elvishness.
So all of his deformities of face are gone. Now, here's what's interesting is that, of course, they don't even know, the writers don't even know from scene to scene what the rings do.
Yeah, they
Because we were shown that the ring heals wounds. And so he's apparently healed himself with it. but then he takes the ring off.
And it all comes back.
And all of his wounds come back. But that's not the way healing works.
Yes.
So this is illusion now. So the ring does illusions?
Yes.
So as long as he wears the ring, he looks like he has no scarring? Anyway, that's not important. What's really important about this scene is that he, after gaining a ring of power,
gives it up.
Is going to, yes, sir, you got it. He's like,
here you go.
He just hands it back to Galadriel.
So Adar is the real Tom Bombadil.
That's so good.
All right. That was good. God. That was good. He is we found him. We found him.
We found him.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
What's really weird is just him changing his face caused him to reconsider everything. The ring, wearing the ring, right? Because he says he wants to save his children and earn his elf name. He says, she's like, what's your elf name? He's like, that's not important. I want to earn my elf name.
He wants to earn it, though.
He never tells us.
Do you know what I wrote? Do you know what I wrote here? Adar is Celebrimbor. But I mean,
he's not.
He's not. But when he was saying, I used to have an elf name once.
He's been fighting.
Yeah, I forgot they wrote off Celebrimbor and it's just off nowhere.
Yeah, he's off like this.
Well, now he's dead.
I forgot about that whole thing.
He's been fighting to get this ring. Like the part of that battle was in order to get the ring in addition to Sauron, because he believes having the ring will allow him to kill Sauron. Okay, so now he just gives it up after fighting, killing. Then he says, "You know what? I was wrong."
Well, and not only that, they're actually going to try to convince us that he's been redeemed. Like this is a redemption arc for Adar, because he says maybe this will help. Something like this will heal the rift between elves and Uruk.
If we defeat Sauron, he'll remove his children to Mordor, never to make war on.
Oh yeah, I have notes about that.
He will take. If we can defeat Sauron, I will have my land, you will have yours, and we will never fight again. I just want my children to be happy.
He just cares about his children, orcs. And by the way, what they really want, he and the orcs, they want peace, end of war, no more fire, no more darkness. Okay. I was like, that's going to be awkward. Didn't they show us in season 1 that orcs burn in the light? It's going to be awkward when there's no more darkness for them to hide it. Oh, well. That's really what orcs want. They want no fire, no darkness, no war.
I wrote this down.
Yeah.
No more flames, no more darkness. Let this ring heal the rift between Elf and Uruk. Let us create a lasting peace in Middle-earth, now and ever.
Ta-da! Gives the ring back.
This is like...
Okay, go ahead. No, please finish the thought, because I'm on to the next scene here with this thought.
These are the people that believe that you can negotiate with terrorists who are writing this show, right? This is the mindset. Like, evil simply needs to be, they're not really evil. They just need
They need to be heard.
They want the same thing that we all
need to be heard.
They need to be appreciated and respected, and if they do that, then they will change and be just like us.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Except not like Galadriel, because this scene proves that she is the evil one. Here, bear with me.
All right.
So Adar has just shown, he's claimed, against all reason, but he's claimed that he's now redeemed, and what orcs really want is love and peace. So he gives the ring to Galadriel. That's going to heal the rift. Now Galadriel has her ring back. And Adar has shown himself to be a redeemed and truly heroic elf. Because not only that, but she notices that in his giving up, he gets his scars back, because it wasn't real healing, because the writers don't know how rings work. But anyway, so he's sacrificed all this, and she is now, they're partners, right? Because she's accepted the ring, and this is a redeemed elf. And then in this scene, Glug comes back, wounded, fake wounded, and Adar goes over because he cares so much about a wounded Uruk, and he's looking at Glug, and then he gets Caesared, and all the orcs start stabbing him with their knives, and so Adar dies. And during this whole scene where Adar is showing how he's really the one that he's compassionate, he cares, and Galadriel's standing there watching it, and she watches all the orcs murder Adar. So this is the redeemed elf who's given her back the ring, and she's just like, well, that happened. Uh-oh. Well, I guess I'll just stand here with my ring and do nothing. And then Sauron shows up.
By the way, this is Morgoth's crown that they reforged, apparently.
Okay.
Yeah, they reforged Morgoth's crown. Ta-da! Because that was, yeah. And there.
So there he is. He appears now. He's changed. He's able to change his costuming in a split second as well. So apparently,
yep, everything.
Unless he's traveling from Aragia to Khazad-dûm, then he wears exactly the same stuff.
Right.
Then it's no difference. So he says. So when we learn the changing of leadership is as fickle in orcs as it is in Numenorians here too, because these orcs are like, no, Adar, you are the one that was bringing us. No, we're with Sauron now, because he used the word Uruk when he responded to us. And
what do you command, Lord Sauron?
Yeah, and he says, raise the Region and leave no elf alive. So they simply worship him at this point. And Galadriel asks Sauron, was this your plan all along? And he's like, no. The road goes ever winding. Not even I can see all its paths.
Oh no!
So Bilbo's song also comes from Sauron.
Yep.
The road goes ever winding.
Yeah, the road goes ever on and on. And so Gandalf's line comes from Sauron.
Oh, yeah,
Not even the wise can see all ends.
Right.
And this is just a different version.
I just wish, because they love using the word very in this, his very hands, the very light of the sun, this very road that goes winding. I'm like, guys, the word very does not make it medieval, does not make it Middle-earth, does not add some sort of layer of vocabulary similitude to it. It's just old-timey.
They feel their IQ going up 5 points.
I wrote that down and I'm like, stop with using the word very. I'm so done with very. It is not his very hands. It is not the very sword. It is not the very king of this land. It's the king. It's the sword. It's the hands. It's the sun. Okay, sorry, I had to get that off.
They wrote this entire script in all lowercase, like Gen Z.
No punctuation.
Yeah, no punctuation.
Yeah. Okay. So my point is, Galadriel is the real evil one here, because she's just got a ring back from a redeemed elf, and then stood by and watched him get murdered for no reason. She just stands there,
and then she just backs away.
And then Sauron comes, and she's like, "I'm going to fight you." So then, painfully for 10 minutes, she fights Sauron.
Yeah. Before that happens, though, we find that Gil-galad and Elrond have been captured.
And Arondir. Oh, here we go. Okay, at the end of last episode, we saw Arondir. He comes in. He's mad because he's gonna sacrifice himself, killing the leader. He wants to kill Adar, and he and Adar fight at the end of last episode. Close combat. Adar impales him with his sword.
And literally, he's like, oh!
And he dies. He falls down. Okay. So Arondir's dead.
So he should be out of commission from that.
Well, here he is.
And now he's back.
He's back.
No wounds. No holes in his armor. Nothing. It's just ta-da! He's back. He's captured.
And he saves the day. Gil-galad, by the way, never does anything valiant ever. He essentially, at the end of last episode, he does some sort of kamikaze maneuver into the orcs that we don't see the end of. But he doesn't help anyone. He never saves himself.
He definitely doesn't command.
He doesn't command. He always waits for Galadriel to make decisions.
Right.
He's got to be the weakest king,
most pathetic high king in the existence of Middle Earth.
Yes. Yeah. Well, this is not Middle Earth.
Oh, this is not. You're right. All right. So speaking of not Middle Earth, so here we have a scene to show that orcs are Nazis. So they gather the 3 leaders of the elves, and by leaders we mean 2 leaders and a rando of Arondir, who apparently can't be. I mean, look, he's pretty special. He can't be killed. He just got impaled, and now he's fine. So they gathered him, and so all 3 are there.
There he is.
There he is, captured. And why are they being brought here? Well, Sauron has said spare their leaders, so they're apparently leaders. And why are they brought here? What's this whole scene about? It's to show us the orcs burning books.
Really?
Exactly.
Oh no.
No. Burning scrolls.
And well, there's some books
they banned books in K-12 education.
That's right.
All the Nazis came in and banned all those books.
And so they have this scene where captured Elrond, is sitting there saying, "No, this is the gathered wisdom of all the ages of the elves. We would all give our lives if you would but spare these books." And the orcs looks at him and goes, like that's cartoon villain, and turns and throws the torch to burn, and I had so many reactions to this. I was laughing hard, but one of them is, okay, dude, all the elves would give their lives for the books. No, they wouldn't. They're elves. They know that their lives are worth more than, and they can write more books because they live forever. Hey, and then go ahead.
I was just here's the thing, like, it's not like that phrase makes no sense. It's simply that they've never established that these books mean anything to the elves in the entire 15 episodes before this. So he could say that if they had established something that this was the importance, this was the, if this was all the lore of their people or anything like that.
The importance of written wisdom to the elves or something like that. Nothing. Also, I would like to point out the entire wisdom of thousands of years of elves living in this place is in like a 6 foot by 8 foot. Like, what have these guys been doing for thousands of years? That's like 80 scrolls.
This scene reminds me of The Last Jedi, where they're burning the Jedi scrolls, and Luke goes, "No, the sacred scrolls." And, and then Yoda goes, "Like, did you read those anyway?" Like,
we never actually.
we never really read them. Yeah.
So they burn the scrolls, and it's just, and it literally is just, let's be angry with the orcs because they burn books. They're Nazis now.
Terrible. They're probably voting for Trump.
So here we get to the point at which we realize not only was
look how sad he is. He was never this. He was never this sad about the death of his. He was this sad about the death of his horse.
His horse.
So if you kill a horse or burn scrolls, Elrond gets really sad. If you slaughter his people in front of him,
the horse that he didn't use when he had to go from Linden to Eregion, the one that he would rather run than use his favorite horse.
Right.
Okay, so
and the orcs are making him look at the burning scrolls, because that's how Nazi-like we are. We're going to make you suffer.
So these are not the orcs that want to go home to their wife and children. They are.
They are.
Okay. The duality of Uruk.
Uruk and Uruk. Yes, right. They're out there.
Don't try to corner them into one.
Okay. I just thought they were misunderstood. They wanted to be heard. Look, now they're burning books and voting for Trump.
It was because the elves forced them to burn the books, okay?
The elves forced them to.
Okay, so we get back to Sauron and Galadriel fighting here. And this is where he says the line that really established how evil the elves are.
Right.
In this. You know what I'm talking about here?
I think so.
Where he says, well, Galadriel, you alone should know that in order to find the light, you must first touch the darkness. Yes. So he says that to her, quoting, I think it's verbatim, her brother, who said exactly the same thing, essentially saying that in order to overcome the darkness, you must first touch it. Is that how I'm reading that? Is that how you read that? Like what? Yeah. So in any case,
so that's what they call a callback.
But not only a callback, it's a callback that's impossible. Sauron wasn't there in Valinor.
Right.
She's never told him that. Has she? Has she told him that? Maybe.
You know what they would say? They would say, well, he was inside her mind. Well, there was that one point in the last episode where he was inside it. In the last episode of season 1 where he wasn't there, and they replay that scene with him in it. So you could say that he did know that. Now we get to the metamorphosis scene.
So she kicks Sauron over the edge.
At any point during this fight, does he say, "I'll call this all off if we have a date"?
Almost.
Okay.
We're about to get there, and here it is. She's about to kill him, but no, he's Halbro! Yes!
Dude, what is going on?
And this stops her. This is what's amazing.
This is what stops her?
So weak.
Yeah.
That a slight change in look makes her go, oh, I shouldn't kill him.
Because he's Halbro, and she realizes she really loved him. There was something between them.
Which they've affirmed that there was.
Yeah, the writers have actually said so. So there are some people who are Rings of Power fans. I don't know why, but they are, and they have said things like they'll defend this, saying, "Oh no, this isn't like the kiss between Elrond and Galadriel in the previous episode. Oh, that wasn't romantic. That was just a tactic." And they'll say things about this scene like, this wasn't romance. It was just Sauron distracting her or something like that. But the actual writer, which one was it? One of the writers,
Charlotte Brandstrom, I think.
Anyway, then search for it, people. Internet will find it for you. She actually said, "Oh no, this is a romance. This is
true. They were falling in love with each other.
We are indeed shipping them."
Yes. Yeah. So he now transforms into Halbrand. This stops her from.
She's doing that thing with her mouth.
She tries then to fight him again. So he walks around a small pillar, and guess who he becomes? Wait.
Terrible.
She's going to be
terrible.
Who's he going to transform into? New person.
Oh, look!
It's her.
She's her. And he says to her, they could, like, he brings up the quote that was it Gilgalad said? I don't remember what he said. He said that she could no longer distinguish me from the evil I was fighting. So she could not distinguish herself from the evil she was fighting.
So deep.
So now she's fighting herself. This is, again, I feel like it's just a callback to The Empire Strikes Back in the cave. Yeah. Luke fighting himself.
Right.
This is the Middle Earth DEI meeting where it's like really structural racism is built into who you are. Like you are the white. Your white supremacy is what's going on here.
You are the Dark Lord.
So then she finds her, and then afterwards, the metamorphoses are not complete yet. She's so strong and so powerful, and then becomes Celebrimbor, and the impactful phrase he says to her is, "Are these not the seeds you planted? About destruction, about loss, about everything."
I mean, in a way, it was funny as he's right.
True.
According to the show, like Galadriel in the show did that.
That's what I wrote. I mean, essentially through this scene, they're admitting she's a horrible.
She's the bad guy.
A horrible, evil elf.
You are the bad guy.
You are the bad guy.
And as written by Rings of Power, he's not wrong.
Right.
She is the bad guy.
And then he changes back into Sauron, and he says, "I know your mind. I see you." Which is completely believable. He does know her mind because evil knows evil.
How did that structural stone
stop?
How did that fall down? Like what? There was nothing that hit it or broke it. Like what happened there?
It was built by the hobbits. They don't know how to do long-term construction.
I accept that answer.
So they fight some more. She actually cuts him because she's strong and powerful, and then he stabs her with a crown.
I know your mind.
In the chest.
In the chest. I'm trying to get to it. There's way too much fighting.
There we go. He did already. He stabbed her.
And this is where he's sad because he realizes he loves her. I don't care what she's saying.
This is so painful. This whole scene is like 10 to 15 minutes.
She's crying. Look, she's crying.
She's
too.
crying because of the love she had for him, and he's crying. Then he starts crying, and yeah, it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
He gets teary-eyed. Anyway, and she dies. Oh, but she doesn't die. In the next scene, she's standing up.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's lying on the ground,
and he kicks away the sword. And he stands there. He looks down at Ostenethil, and who's come to save the day, Dan? Who is now here? Who used the magical teleportation pad?
Durin.
Dwarves, he says.
Gilgalad says.
So
dwarf, except it's not Durin. The dwarves explain. So here's the great part. All of a sudden, the dwarves are there. Teleporting dwarves. There's an army of dwarves. Teleports in.
Wait. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. The dozen dwarves.
They were
30 dozen dwarves.
All right.
And so the dwarves are there, and they shoot some orcs.
So somehow
that guy's pretty spry.
Well, no, not just pretty spry. He can't die. Like he got impaled like 5 minutes before this. He got impaled and with a sword and died from Adar.
So we find out. I guess the orcs are here, and the orcs will let them. It's not Durin. Durin, what does he say?
He's told that Durin. No, what he says is Durin can't be here because he's in mourning.
Oh yeah, that's how did they know that?
Well, these dwarves, they teleported.
Oh, they teleported.
So they were. This was the army that was going to come save the elves.
Right.
And so after Durin the Third throws himself into the face of a Balrog and gets killed in 3 seconds, and then the Balrog decides not to go after the other dwarves, and the dwarves are all standing around the throne room talking about politics. That's what amounts to mourning. So they couldn't have come to help the elves. Still couldn't. I'm becoming convinced that Durin the Fourth is not actually Elrond's friend. Like every time he has the chance to go and save him, it's like
he's still upset. He's still upset he wasn't there for the birth of his son.
Oh right. That's right.
Where are their children anyway? Remember them playing around?
Oh yeah, the children. They were actually a cool part of the first season.
Yeah. Okay. So,
all right. Well.
So here we're getting close, Dan. Sorry, we have to keep moving. So he finds out that Durin didn't come, but the dwarves are still here to save them for some silly reason. And
so Elrond's, Sauron's like, well, I guess they've been saved.
Yeah, and Halvor says to Galadriel, give me the ring. We realize the ring has now healed her because the ring is magical, can do whatever we need it to do.
Right.
And she pretends to offer it to him, and she makes the
fall off the.
Well, no, not yet. She holds it out to him, and she says,
I didn't write this.
"You
down.
wish to heal Middle Earth?
Oh, right.
Heal yourself." It's like saying, "Your mom." What does it even mean?
Based on the rules that have been established with Adar, as soon as she gives the ring to somebody, she will die. So
That's true. It's all mirage.
At the end of Lord of the Rings, when she,
it's like if Tony Stark took out his reactor, then he would die.
right?
Same sort of thing. Like it keeps her alive.
So instead, what she does is she falls backwards off a cliff to her death, except she doesn't die.
But what happened with Adar is, as he was offering the ring, he was like going back to the scar mode. So she should have been dying right there when she's holding the ring out.
Like, let's watch how far she plummets. By the way,
Okay, here we go.
this ring is impressive. Here, watch. Let's see if I can pause it at the right moment. She's falling. You're like, oh, something's falling far off in the distance. There you go.
Oh wow!
There she is.
Okay.
That
She
little
hits a
dot
tree.
right here.
She hits a tree on
Does
the
she?
way down.
Does she hit a tree on the way down?
She does.
That's what saves her. Maybe it's an ant catches her.
Right.
The ant's made it over there.
So the elves teleport over to her.
So he's upset. The orcs say they're overwhelmed.
How do the orcs teleport up to that cliff?
And
all of a sudden?
how are they overwhelmed?
Like
they
he
actually
walks
just
away.
destroyed the
orcs
city.
actually Glug got there in like 3 seconds from
Yeah.
like a mile down.
Is it Glug? And so he's upset that
That's
they're
right.
overwhelmed, and he stabs the orc. Is this truly Glug? Does
Yeah,
Glug bite it here?
It is.
Okay, so Glug dies. And here's what I want to point out. Like, notice that. Okay, he stabs him right there. Now look at his technique, and remember the technique we learned in season 1: stab, and then what?
Pull.
Twist.
Oh, twist.
Remember, Galadriel established
Right.
in order to stab, twist, gut.
I did not catch that. I mean, I remember her teaching me.
I saw that when he stabbed him, he twisted. I'm like, oh yeah, stab, twist, gut. That was with Galadriel. And that was her big.
Well, and so we've
military.
established that the orcs only follow him because they think he loves them more than Adar, and he's just proven that he doesn't. So they're all going to leave him, right?
Yeah, right.
Oh no, they don't. They
They
just
don't
still
leave.
stick around.
Yeah,
Okay.
And so Galadriel fell from hundreds and hundreds of feet,
Right.
lands, and is found by Gil-galad
And he tries to use his blue ring to heal her,
because
but he can't.
there is no healing in the hands of the king here.
Right. Right. So he tries and he works a little bit, but it's because she's been stabbed by the crown of Morgoth. That's what's implied there. But now Elrond comes the moment where Elrond realizes the rings are. Oh, by the way, this whole season, Elrond has been convinced that the elven rings are bad.
Right.
But now he changes his mind and he says they're good, and so he uses the ring to help heal her.
Did they ever clarify or back up and correct, or because in Tolkien, the 3 rings of the elves are made separately, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, indeed.
But in the show, is that ever the case, or they all just made it in a big batch with?
No, they made them.
Sauron.
They made the 3 elven rings at the end of season 1. So
with the help of Sauron.
Yeah, he was there.
Right.
he was there, but he didn't. He just
He
gave.
didn't put his magic on.
He
them.
taught them what an alloy was.
He taught Celebrimbor that he should probably try an alloy.
Yeah, try to melt these things together.
Right.
You don't know about that yet.
Right. Exactly. Great.
I mean, he had a hand involved in it. And this point,
Yeah.
like, he is there supposedly day in, day out, helping them make these other rings.
Yeah. What's so interesting to me is they try to tell us that it's the rings that are the bad guys, because even Sauron is
he's
a
in
prisoner of the rings.
prisoner
So
of
it
the
isn't
rings,
his spirit that's infesting them; it's the rings that are infesting Sauron.
So, like, yes, right. I
Okay.
guess that's dumb. Whatever.
Yeah.
So Elrond says, or Gil-galad says, her very spirit is being drawn into the Shadow Realm in the same way that when Frodo, he was stabbed by the Morgul blade on Weathertop. You know, that's what's kind of what was
the crown of Morgoth is drawing her to the Shadow Realm.
Right. And he says her very spirit. Just to be clear, it wasn't her
to piss off
just some sort of spirit. It's her very spirit.
Her very spirit is being drawn into the very spirit Shadow Realm
The very Shadow Realm.
at this very moment.
Yeah. So Elrond puts it on.
Because it was the very crown of Morgoth.
And she awakes after Elrond puts on the ring. She awakes to my favorite Gil-galad, which is snarky Gil-galad. When she wakes up,
So she wakes up in Rivendell.
And he's like, "Oh, you've woken up." And
Oh,
like,
remember?
and he says,
Remember wearing white and fading out of darkness into Rivendell? Remember? I'm serious. This is
her waking up.
Parallel
like
Frodo's wake up scene.
Oh my gosh!
Then they're in Rivendell. Remember?
He wakes and she wakes up. He's like, "Pity, I've never known you to be such peaceable company."
It was actually kind of funny.
Yeah.
That confirms my theory. Like, there's one writer out of the 14 who's
like, how can I sneak this in?
Yeah.
Maybe he's the one because, guys, they fired the entire writers' room and kept one guy. I believe it was the one guy, not the girls, one guy. They fired the
You're actually
entire.
serious?
I'm serious. They fired the entire room and kept one person. This might be the person, Dan. It might be the person, the one who gets these lines in.
So anyway, he gets.
So they say we found a place and it's going to be protected by the Elven rings.
Yep.
So they don't make any decision other than to retreat, and they're just all waiting for Galadriel to wake up and make decisions for them. I guess because they don't do anything.
And by the way, this is the elf survivors, and there's like 28 of them. So the great quandary is: do we fight against Sauron, or we just go back to Lindon and defend? Is it the spear or the shield?
Well, yes, they say that. And here's how they solve it, because she says to them that we must remember what Celebrimbor taught us, or told us, just told her, which is, it isn't strength that overcomes the darkness.
It's light.
It's the light. And so the light of Rivendell.
Okay, and that means what exactly? And what it means, we're showing a sunrise, is that it's time for Gil-galad to pull his sword out. So he pulls his sword out, and then everyone looks at the High King with his sword out, and they all begin yelling.
What?
They're looking up at the light.
So they're looking up at the light.
They literally, the sun comes out, they look up at the light.
Now, bear in mind, the 28 survivors down below, they don't even know the conversation that's been happening. They're like way far below.
Yeah.
So, and it's not like, it's a private conversation, but they just see their king lift a sword, and then they all start yelling. And I was looking at that, and I was going, what does that remind me of? Because I've seen something like, look at them, they're all yelling. It's like the woman yelling when Trump won in 2016.
No!
But it was something else. And I was like, what does this remind me of? And then I remembered there are these rage ritual retreats that were part of a news story in the last year.
I saw that.
You remember that?
Yeah.
And there were people, a bunch of women go into woods and they just scream.
Look,
And look, they're all just looking up and
look
they're
at the little
yelling.
kid.
They're just all yelling.
child, scream!
They're all yelling. And there's no speech. There's no call to the light. It's just like, here's my sword, and everyone's like, rah, rah, rah. They're just yelling at the sky. And so they're all on their Elven rage ritual retreat. I mean, that's like the retreat in Rivendell. It's even got the alliteration there. It's all the R's. Rage ritual retreat of Rivendell.
They just lost the city that they've lived in for thousands of years.
Maybe.
At least 1,000 years at this point, if we're going in the
closing in on 2,000.
Yeah. And they're cheering what? They've lost everything. All their friends have died. The entire city is sacked. Now let's remember, at this point in real life in Tolkien, the city, Galadriel is actually over in Lorien, right? Because Celeborn went through Khazad-dûm, and she did not. So the real friend of Durin would be Celeborn. However, she is now here helping, because she's going to be the one to establish Rivendell, really not Elrond, because her ring will somehow do it and not whatever.
Of course. Just like they were waiting for her to wake up to make all
But it makes no sense for them to yell. What are they, like you said, like, you sit here wondering, what are they yelling for?
Like, we're supposed to be inspired. Like, that kind of reaction can work. Because it's, you know who has that similar reaction? The Rohirrim, when King Theoden gives them a speech.
Yes.
One of the best speeches in prose of any fiction work ever. And so they're roused to anger and they go charging off. There's no speech. There's no reason for them to be yelling at the sky. They're just yelling.
Yeah.
And this is clearly just cope from writers who can't write. They're like, what do we do? How do we end this? Yeah. Like, how about we just have everyone yell at the sky? Rage. Okay.
You know whose idea this was, I bet? Simon Tolkien's.
Probably.
It was sort of, guys, we really need a big yelling. You remember that scene with Theoden? Like, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Can we have this yelling scene and
everyone yells?
Rings of Power? Like, they really need, like, we need to show that. It's the inverse, actually, when you think like the opposite of, okay, when they're really sad, what do they do? Or when they're upset, what do they do? Or when they're really angry, what do they do? They cry. When they're really excited, what do they do? When they want to establish that, when they're really courageous, what do they do? When they're really happy, what they yell.
Yep.
When they're really inspired, they just
good
yell.
point. It's like, good point.
It is the dumbing down of emotions.
Cry or
one
yell.
level, right? We cry or we yell. And even Galadriel, like, she yells at points when she's angry. She just screams out.
Rage.
So there's, the rage that she has.
Rage rituals. Elven rage rituals.
This is now the final scene of Rings of Power Season 2. Dear Lord, let it be the final scene of the Rings of Power ever to be put onto film, digital film, whatever. So there you have it, man. We finished.
All right, Dan.
All right, Dan. Last time, we have to think about what's most important after you've learned all this. One more time.
Dan's Big Thought.
What the hell?
We accept that.
It's so
same as your second big thought.
You have to realize that this was us every single week in every single storyline. And going through it, I just, like, looking back at the scene, I literally do not understand. This is not hyperbole. This is not me trying to denounce other people who like this. I just don't understand how you can like this, because not only is it not Tolkien, fine. People were saying we should look at Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War, the two video games that came out with Celebrimbor in it, and talk about the differences between Celebrimbor there and here. That was done, not Tolkien, not lore, but it was done really well and in a way that you could enjoy. This here, when you're looking at it, it's done in such a poor way that I don't understand how people like this. I don't get it.
Well, I think what they're doing, I think this is a corporate maneuver. From start to finish, this is corporate product. And as with most corporate products, it has no heart to it. Corporations in the modern era are really just about money. And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to leverage the fan base. They know that Tolkien is a very popular author. They know that if they make a show about Lord of the Rings in any way, shape, or form, that they're going to have a built-in fan base that comes with that show.
Yeah.
And so they think that it really doesn't matter. I don't know why they think this, but they do think, apparently, having seen 2 seasons of their product, they clearly think that it really doesn't matter how you torture and twist Tolkien's world, his characters, his words. It doesn't matter if you make a skin suit out of them and make it for the modern audience.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much of the message that they bring in. Everyone's still going to buy it and love it and like it. And it turns out that most of the Tolkien fans, in fact, all the Tolkien fans, and even most of the people out there are not buying it. And you and I talked, Jonathan, earlier about the fact that only 37% of the people who watched season 1 finished it. And then you go to the Rotten Tomatoes reviews in season 2, and you see that less than half of the people that watched it, okay, you have to remember, this is less than half of the people who made it through season 1 and were willing to watch season 2, gave it a review and liked it. So they're falling off of a cliff. They're like Galadriel. They're falling off, and I guess they're hoping for the tree on the way down. But it isn't going to happen.
To be wearing some magical ring that will somehow.
Yeah. And everybody I know in my life, besides you guys, they watched the first episode, maybe 2, and they all dropped off.
Yeah.
And so I got to imagine that is a widespread phenomenon, because it was even one of the guys I work with. He was like, "It's beautiful. I love the way it's shot." And then you got to episode 2 and was just like, "I just don't care about anything."
That's right.
I feel like I failed as a father, because my 14-year-old wanted to watch the first episode of The Rings of Power, because he knows I'm like, "All right, guys, I know tonight I'm going to watch an episode of Rings of Power, so pray for me." They know that I hate the show, but he's like, "Hey, can I just watch it with you and we can see it?" And it was like right before season 2 came out, and I brought it up the other night. I said, "Hey, did you want to watch episode 2? He's like, no. Can we just go back to watching the X-Files again? Like, we're going through that whole season. So, but even then, like, he would laugh at the different quotes. Like ships look down, rocks look up. If you know
the other way, but
yeah, sorry, whatever. It doesn't matter either way. And so he would just chuckle, and he was so uninterested in it by the time it was over that I don't understand. I literally do not understand how somebody can go through this and feel invested in anything going on, since the writers don't know how to create the situations and the foundations that allow us to invest in these characters. For instance, we talked about Durin in this episode, where they try to create Durin and his father-son relationship as something based around strength and how Durin was getting stronger as time progressed. But they never built that up until the very moment, until the moment that he and Durin discuss it, he and his father discuss it, and there hasn't been any build-up anywhere. And so they don't know how to actually create these moments of impact through an entire season. All they do it is through one single moment in an episode, and so I just don't know.
Yeah, they're the cotton candy salesmen of the TV world right now. They're trying to capitalize on something that came before that was good, and they just offer you something sweet to eat, and it'll eventually make you feel sick. Yeah, and that's what they've done too.
All right,
look what they've done to my boys.
So manage your glucose levels. don't eat something sweet. Go read Tolkien and have like the slow burn of fat and protein, the structure of a good story.
Yeah.
And that reminds me, we are in fact going to do that next week or so, maybe the week after. Maybe we'll take a week off.
We need a break, guys. We got
to check ourselves into rehab and
need to recover.
But we're going to go return to the Hobbit, where we're in chapter 3, I believe. Our slow read through the Hobbit. So if you want some real Tolkien after the fake cotton candy of Rings of Power, then please join us.
Yeah. And I think we're going to go into an extended podcast here. Dan, any final words? I'm putting you on the spot. It's been a while. Words of wisdom moving forward. I guess you just had them.
Well, I feel, can't put it any better than that, I guess. But I just do think there is a segment of the population that this is what they want. They want to take things that are good and hijack them for their own ideological purposes, and that's all. It's as shallow and as simple as that. And I think these big corporations are starting to realize that there's no money in that. Like Star Wars got that show got canceled after one season. The Acolyte, because it's like, what is this? This is terrible. I think they had the wisdom to say, we're not bringing this back. Now, if Amazon does that, that would be huge, because I think they have a lot of motives to just keep it going. They have enough money to just keep it going, and then score the ideological points with the audiences out there. And they don't. At this point, they've already shown they don't care about Tolkien. So I don't know.
Well, no, they care about Tolkien. Simon Tolkien. That's who they care about.
Yeah.
He's the one giving them the allowances, and putting this rubber stamp of approval, or the balsa wood stamp of approval that needs to be burned as soon as. Anyway, guys, we're going to go to an extended podcast briefly. If importantly, we're going to have a couple of big thoughts, both from our chat. Once again, we're going to since we're having chats, big thoughts, and we're going to talk about, was there anything good in this season? If we had to nail down anything good, I know this is a tall task. Anything good? So, guys, we'll see you on the other side. Thanks for joining us, Dan. It's good to be here.
Hey,
we'll see you again.
Good to see y'all.
Bye-bye, freeloaders.